Lord Young, you've just addressed the IOSH conference and a captive audience of health and safety professionals. What's the key message you wanted to get across here today?
Well, to say that health and safety itself as a subject has fallen into disrepute. And we've really got to look at the reasons why that's actually happened. And I believe it's a combination of the litigious nature of our society, the way in which adverts on television, on radio saying, come to us, if you think you have a claim, no charge to you. And and also the prevalence of consultants who are not qualified and come and put, frankly, ridiculous advice, which often the business has to adopt for fear that their insurance company will somehow void their policy in the event of a claim. So it's a combination of a number of things which we'll have to put right. I also said that I thought IOSH should do more. The responsibility lies with IOSH for improving the professionalism, and that they should be lobbying government and saying to government, look, people shouldn't practice as a consultant unless they know what they're talking about, unless they've got minimum standards.
So is there anything that health and safety practitioners as individuals do you think can be doing to help this case that you're going for?
Well, it's not the qualified, knowledgeable health and safety practitioners who are the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem are those who set themselves up as consultants without the knowledge, without the training, and then who often give ridiculous advice. I mentioned the case of a restaurant that banned toothpicks on health and safety grounds. Now, you know, what possible health and safety implication can there be on toothpicks? Or another case I gave was a pancake race on Shrove Tuesday, which a local council man came along and stopped people running because it had been raining. Now, I'm sorry, that is not health and safety. That is just sheer nonsense. And the trouble with the health and safety field as a whole is there are too many of these silly stories appearing in the press. Now, I know many of these stories are nonsense, but there's sufficiently of them, and there's a sufficient kernel of truth to have turned the whole of the field of health and safety into a joke. It wasn't a very palatable message that I actually gave to the conference today, but I think it's important that practitioners should realize the way they're regarded from outside. And I invited IOSH to come along and start lobbying.
You mentioned that health and safety is being used as an excuse not to do something and not to get on with your job. Why do you think it is such an easy excuse to call upon?
Well, I was referring to a particular instance where two police constables stood by and said they watched a girl screaming in a car and she suffered exposure from which she died, but their reason was they hadn't got health and safety and they'd sent for a specialist team. I'm sorry, in our view, the Conservative Party view, is that policemen owe a duty to the public first. And I believe that applies to all the uniformed services. They have a duty to the public. Then, in dealing internally, they should, of course, follow health and safety rules as they are. But you can't stop them doing their real job. And the illustration I gave, which is a nonsense illustration of what would happen if soldiers in Afghanistan said, it's too dangerous out there for me to go. You take a job, you know you run a risk, and it's a duty actually to help the public. So that, I think, is something where health and safety really has to look at.
So what would the future hold for health and safety under a Conservative government?
Oh, it will be a good future for it. What we want to do is to remove some of the bureaucracy which gives it a bad name. I referred to the fact that the present government recently applied health and safety to self-employed. Well, that is a little bit of nonsense. And there are other instances like that where I think we can row back some of the bureaucracy of health and safety, but not interfere with the underlying principles.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.